Hello and welcome to Data Planet. I'm Emma Davis, and today's guest is Keal Blache, Vice President of Global Partnerships and Strategy at vivenu. Welcome to the show, Keal.
Thank you, Emma. Great to see you and really appreciate you having me on the show today.
My pleasure. So to start, tell us about vivenu. What do you guys do and who are your customers?
Well, Emma, it's really about you, not us. So I'm going to flip it around for a second and ask
Oh
you the
my
question,
goodness.
and then I will answer your question. Uh, Now, I'd just like to ask you, why did you start this podcast, and you know, how has it surprised you since you've had guests? And I'll give an example since I'm spurring this on you last minute. But I had the opportunity to listen to an amazing episode you had with Rachel from Cosm, uh, and she was incredible. So I'm just curious, just again, why, and what was your inspiration, and how has it surprised you?
Really interesting question. So, full transparency, the point of the podcast was to help support the growth of my business. So, I was tired of trying to have relevant and valuable conversations with people, like hoping to bump into people with whom I could have more in depth and relevant conversations. I was, you know, I'm not super interested in small talk. I want to get to know people, and I want to really get into the weeds of, what's working, what's challenging, what's exciting for you right now. And so we started this show as sort of a mechanism to connect with people and have some of those interesting stories and then share that as sort of a value add for our guests. Um, and I would say the most surprising thing to me is just the way I have fallen in love with so many guests. Like when I hear their stories and see their passion um, and expertise and belief in what they're doing, and just hearing their stories, I'm learning so much, and also just feeling gratitude at the end of each recording, like, man, I'm so glad we're doing this show. And it put me in touch with this incredible person. And, I can't wait to continue to support them and interact with them, hopefully for years to come. So I thought it was going to be much more like, yeah, maybe once in a while I'll meet somebody who's interesting. And it just, guest after guest, I'm inspired and excited to talk with them.
So it sounds like it's been a bad experience.
I don't recommend. 0 stars.
I'm really encouraged to hear that, and I'm also curious, what has been your most favorite or memorable sports and entertainment experience that you ever had?
Man. Um, it was going to see this, oh man, I have so many just popped into my mind at once. So one that's maybe more relatable to more people, because I was like, there's this really niche Scottish punk rock band, and I'm like, no, something else. So going to Boston Calling with one of my colleagues. We were gifted tickets from a vendor, and so we got to go to the VIP section and stuff like that. And watching the National perform there, and then Maggie Rogers got up on stage and um, sang "I Need My Girl" with the National, and I just was like in tears, goosebumps. It just like and the whole crowd, you could tell, was just feeling this like connected moment of holy cow, I can't believe we get to see this and hear this and feel this warm summer breeze and taste this beer, and like all this stuff sort of coming together in one unifying experience for all of us. And it's one of the most incredible event experiences I've ever had.
That sounds like an awesome memory, and just the way you describe it, your emotions were so connected to that. I think that's so cool about that memory that you've had, but also when music and the environment just hit like that with the connection with the people on stage. And but we'll get to that later. I'm just my last question, the toughest of the day today,
Okay.
coming from my end,
Yeah.
is what did you have for lunch today?
I had leftovers from dinner last night, a quinoa bowl with some grilled chicken and sweet potatoes and ricotta and broccoli, some different vegetables and stuff, just left over from we went out to a restaurant last night because they're redoing our floors and I couldn't stand the smell of being in our house. So we went out for dinner and I got to have some nice leftovers for lunch.
That's real life, and I
Yeah.
appreciate you sharing your lunch, and that sounds like a very healthy and delicious lunch. Uh,
Yeah. Not
and
typical for me. It was much else. I'm so glad we're having this conversation today when I have something so admirable that I had for lunch.
your honesty is admirable, and I appreciate that. And, I apologize for turning this around and asking you the questions, but I think, that's how relationships start, and I really enjoyed when we connected about the opportunity to come on the podcast and getting to know you a bit, and, so I will answer the question that you asked me now, so I'll come
Fantastic.
back. Um So vivenu is an API first, digital infrastructure that happens to empower our customers to sell tickets. And I believe a lot of your listeners are very technical. They're helping set up performance marketing. They're helping growth strategies. And so I'm going to say, vivenu is what Stripe is to payments, is what Shopify is to e-commerce, is what Amadeus is to travel distribution. We're really the invisible layer of technology that powers the experience commerce industry. And so that's the vision that our founders had 7 years ago. But they didn't come up with this themselves. It was the time of uh, just before, and they didn't know what was coming. They had raised the first round, and the pandemic came along, and it provided this strange opportunity where they were able to have 2,000 interviews with experts in the industry and folks that are working day in and day out across a variety of different verticals, and that's where they heard the same common themes over and over and over. Is that the organizers were looking for data ownership, were looking to control their brand, and be able to really customize the checkout experience and communication. And frankly, the pandemic was one of the first times that happened at mass scale, where the relationship went directly from fans to a league. Say, for example, with the NBA bubble during that time.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, interesting. And so you mentioned sports. We talked a little bit about concerts is, I'm assuming my story about the national was not irrelevant entirely to the venue. So who are the types of customers that work with you guys?
So we work across the experience economy, and that's sports and entertainment that spans from global pro sports to US colleges. We now have more than 1,100 customers globally. So we're operating in more than 50 countries, and that's across global sports, US colleges with 140 here in the States, with performing arts centers, with live entertainment, immersive experiences, with youth sports, with participation sports. And why that's so, just exciting about the future is that the lines are blurring between those different verticals and industries based on, and this is where I referenced, I won't go into it because Rachel did a great job on the episode about COSM, but sports is an asset class. And so this is where there's a lot of investment happening, and real estate is a big part of that driver. But all of these events are happening on site, and just like you shared in your story, and you have such a strong connection with the moment on stage and the national, and just that's where it connects with people's emotion, just like it did for you. And the price of tickets are going up, or people are traveling for you sport reasons, and that's where it influences behavior like travel or like which restaurants people go to, or um, but that's through a great experience that they have and something they wanna keep going back to because of the memories that they're making with their family, their friends, their closest people in their lives.
Nice. And so let's talk a little more specifically about what then changes. So if I'm a university, if I'm a sports league, I start working with the venue. What changes in terms of my experience engaging with my audience? And then what changes with my audience or fans' experience engaging with my league, my team, my arena, whatever it is that I am in this in this hypothetical. What actually is different?
It's it's really opening up the connective tissue that provides the little details to make that experience better. And it starts with trust. I mean, everything in life is about trust. And, brands that people have more affinity towards are, I'll share an example of a mentor of mine in the past used to call them I like me better brands. They're brands that when you interact with them, you just have this feeling of, I really believe in what this brand is doing. And I feel just an energy being a part of what's happening. And that's where sports and entertainment and music and so many other um, areas of this industry excel. And this is where the connective tissue in terms of how ultimately the technology pulls the behavioral signals of, say, for example, when someone is purchasing a ticket, which is typically the first point of contact for someone to go to an event. uh, Having the opportunity to upsell and add, maybe a shirt or gear, or maybe make a restaurant reservation or book a hotel. All of those are behaviors. And then it's also, are they looking at premium experiences? Are they looking at group ticket sales? All of these are behaviors that are trackable, but it also builds a relationship with the fan. But then deeper than that, there's the media side, and who is that fan's favorite player? What does that fan do? They find the quinoa bowl at the fan? Hopefully not leftovers from last
Yeah.
night. But, uh,
And
oh,
just to impress their friends with how healthy they're being.
yes, exactly. So, there's so many different behaviors and that fans or patrons or guests take when they're going to go. Are they going to drive? Are they going to fly? And this is where we help empower the connective tissue in between all of these technologies that deliver that experience. And ultimately, that adds trust because when you know more and build that direct relationship with the individual, there's affinity.
And so essentially you guys have access to a lot of different signals and behavior data from potential fans, potential customers. And you're trying to both smooth out sort of the conversion path for them, but also f- find this really nice win-win situation where, the place that they're buying tickets from can increase that customer value, can, well, why don't I help you with this? I'm going to upsell you here and all that. But really what that's doing for the fan or the audience is like, yes, I want to lean more into this experience. I want to make the coordination, the planning, the things that are necessary for me to enjoy this experience, make that more seamless, make it tailored to me. So, yeah, I love getting a t-shirt every time I go to a concert. Yes, please add that as like an option. I can just buy that up front. I don't have to worry about them running out of shirts in my size or whatever that is. And so really making it, one time easier to increase that customer value and that fans experience, but also if you have like, man, it was so easy to book and remember that I didn't even remember that while I was booking, I added this and this and this, but I do remember when I was there, I had a great quinoa bowl and I had a delicious meal. Oh, I love wearing that shirt I got. Like they just have the sort of warm, fuzzy emotional connection from that experience. And then they're likely to seek that out again. That's such a good experience. And I don't even necessarily understand all the details of why, but let's run it back. That was great. I want to do that again. And so you also get this more, um, whether it's tapping into loyalty that's already there from a fan base or actually helping to build that loyalty within a fan base by giving them more tailored and valuable experiences. Is that am I getting all that
I mean,
roughly right?
you're spot on.
Okay.
Maya Angelou said it really well, and it's people remember how you made them feel.
Mm.
And this is where, fans, patrons, guests, they don't have relationships with ticketing companies. They have relationships with the music artist, with the attraction, with the stories at the attraction. They have relationships with whether they're basketball players or football players or soccer players or, with Olympic athletes. they have relationships with their family that are participating in youth sports, with their friends that are running, in a marathon or an obstacle course race because of the lifestyle and the discipline, and they know the journey that they took to get there, and so they're there to cheer them on. And this is where, in other industries, companies like Netflix, Spotify, have developed the ability to create one-to-one relationships by understanding. Spotify knows the music that I listen to, um, whether it, maybe while I'm driving, versus if I'm communicating, maybe doing some work late at night, or if we're outside grilling in the summer. The other side of it is that, this started from an experience design perspective. The history of, say, taking data analytics started in grocery stores, and in, say, retail. But let's just say go back to loyalty. Kroger is an example. I used to bag groceries as a young child, and the highlight of that experience was when the Detroit Pistons players would come in, and I get to bag their groceries and uh,
Dang.
be super excited. But the point that I'm making is that the loyalty cards, understanding what people are putting in their cart, knowing, is this a family coming in? Are they coming in once a week, once per month? It changes how you communicate with those individuals, how you design the store, and where things are placed, the psychology behind it. And then, you can make a better experience. And then, that moved into retail, say through taking a big step forward into the digital world through Amazon,
Yeah.
and being able to see what people are ordering to their doorstep, and the time of year, and the seasonality of it, and being able to measure that against addresses, and so much more first party data than, say, a retail store where someone was walking in the past might be able to give. And then now you take that into the world of attractions, and you have this captive audience. And yeah, I spent 15 years in Orlando, and just being a fly on the wall, seeing what Disney and Universal, and uh, starting with, say, the Magic bands, or just the RFID bands, both between Disney and Universal, even down to measuring the size of footprint walking in to, say, the Disney park. These are all first party data points collected to be improve the experience, wait times, and today the technology exists at scale to do this at a much lower cost,
Mm.
but surrounding the footprint of, say, a sports and entertainment mixed use real estate district, starting with the technology that people are buying the ticket through, but they're buying it through the brand. So that trust and that experience is with that specific property, or that specific team. And
Mhm.
therefore, there's a lot more relationship there to be able to improve the communication that's going two ways.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think personalization is a big topic right now, and I'm, at least within my experience, seeing this sort of uncanny valley of personalization where there's some point where it starts to feel creepy. Like, why do you know this much about me? And there's this really fine line of wanting to make it feel more serendipitous and like, oh, yeah, I did want that. Or like, yeah, that is good for me versus like, I was just talking about this brand of shoes earlier. How did you know? Like, are you listening to me? Like I hear that a lot from people like, oh, how weird. I was just talking about this and then I got an ad for it. So, how customizable is the experience um, with vivenu in terms of how much personalization the users might want or how much personalization the venues and experience providers might want to give to their audience?
I'm going to use college as an example because college campuses are a very wide footprint that have a lot of unique key stakeholders. And so
Hmm.
when you look at a college campus, you have maybe former student athletes, you have current student athletes, you have alumni, you have donors, you have a first time ticket buyer, a local community member based on where they live, someone that traveled in that's from the away team. There's so many more. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Now, per every individual through vivenu, you can personalize specific offerings. And that's where, based on who that individual is, with essentially a customer tag that can come from, say, other platforms based on behaviors they take across interconnected digital ecosystem. Maybe they engaged with an ad. Maybe they attended a alumni watch party, and now they're getting an invite to a travel group discount that includes airline tickets, hotel, and premium experience to go on field for an event. But now you look at, say, homecoming, and you're stewarding people coming from, say, doctors for one college, say, engineers from another, and based on those tags, they can have unique individualized experiences. Or if it's a donor that's given a lifetime amount of giving, they're going to have access to certain sections of seats, or maybe
Mm.
private exclusive dinners and events, as thank yous, awards dinners, etc. Or they're going to get discounts, or they're going to see bowl game tickets prior. So that is down though to the individual, and that's where in today's digital ecosystem, whether it's e-commerce, whether it's streaming, there's a lot of behaviors that can build a really unique experience. And what I'm excited about is, we've looked at it across the different verticals we work in, but I believe just, like any tool and technology, that our customers are going to come in and show us ways that we never even thought of on how you can set that up.
Awesome. Uh, Keel, I loved learning so much about vivenu and just the way you guys are using data to create more value for your customers and for them to create more value for their customers and their audiences. Let's go ahead and wrap up there. Listeners, if you want to learn more about Keel and vivenu, details will be in the show notes. Keel, thank you so much for joining today on Data Planet.
Emma, thank you for having me. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you.